My friends, the date is upon us. The 2nd of September is no ordinary mark upon the calendar, no idle number stamped upon a page. It is a summons, it is a test, it is a reminder that life does not wait politely at the door while we gather our courage. Instead, it bursts in and demands of us the very thing we thought we could not give. Many of us tremble when we hear the word test. We think of papers, pens, ticking clocks, and questions whose answers elude us. Yet the test of life is of a different kind. It is not merely a matter of intellect, but of character. It is not only what you know, but who you are becoming. The true examination is written not on paper, but in the way you live when the hour strikes. Now, you may say, but the demand is too high, the challenge is too great, it is impossible. And I would answer, yes, it is impossible, at least by your own strength alone, but that is the point. The test is not designed to flatter your existing abilities. It is designed to draw out of you something you have never known was there. It stretches the sinews of the soul. It calls you beyond the small, safe shelter of what you already are. Think of it like this. When the seed is buried in the dark earth, it might say to itself, I cannot imagine breaking through the soil. I cannot see how to push upward into the light. It is impossible. And yet, by the very nature planted within it, the seed does the impossible. It becomes the tree. It was never meant to remain hidden in the dirt, nor are you meant to remain what you were yesterday. So the 2nd of September becomes for you not a date to fear, but a doorway, a moment to cross, a chance to discover whether you will choose the comfort of excuses or the courage of effort. This test asks only one thing. Will you give everything you have, though it feels too little? Will you dare to do the thing that seems beyond your reach? The truth is, the impossible is precisely what you are called to. You were not created merely to shuffle through life, safe and unimpressive. You were created for a greatness that frightens you, for a destiny that looks too vast for your small hands to hold. The question is not whether the impossible can be done. It has been done before, countless times, by ordinary men and women who chose to rise when others sat still. The question is whether you will believe enough to take the first step. Let this test be the proof not of your weakness, but of your will. Stand firm when doubt whispers, not you, not today. Answer back, yes, me, yes, today. Step forward when every instinct begs you to retreat. Do what the world insists cannot be done, for the test is not meant to crush you, it is meant to reveal you. And when the day closes, whether the world calls you victorious or not, you will know within your heart that you have given all. That you have stepped into the impossible and found it not as a wall, but as a door. Life's true test is not written on paper, but revealed in character, choices, and courage when the moment arrives. When we think of the word test, our minds often drift toward classrooms, chalkboards, and the sharp tick of a clock, marking the passage of time as we scribble answers on a sheet of paper. But that is not the kind of test that life sets before us. Life's true test is a matter not of ink and memory, but of strength and spirit. The most important questions are not the ones that ask us to recall dates or define terms. They are the questions pressed into our hearts in the hours of struggle, in the moments when we stand on the edge of decision, and in the choices we make when no one is watching. Life does not hand us a paper to be graded. It places us in circumstances where our character is revealed for what it really is. What is weighed is not our knowledge of formulas or facts, but the depth of our courage, the quality of our integrity, and the faithfulness of our actions. We deceive ourselves when we think that the test of life will appear as something external, something far away and obvious. More often, it is hidden in the small moments of each day. It may come as the chance to speak truth when silence would be easier, or to show kindness when indifference would be less costly. It may arrive in the shape of a temptation to cut corners, to choose comfort instead of discipline, or to seek approval rather than doing what is right. The test is quiet, subtle, and unannounced. Yet it is in those moments, those unseen crossroads of decision, that our true selves are revealed more loudly than any words we could say. When the appointed day comes, when the 2nd of September or any other date arrives, we may expect that we are being tested by the size of the challenge. But the truth is that the real test is whether we will rise to meet it, whether we will refuse to be enslaved by fear. A challenge in itself is neutral. It does not make us fail, nor does it guarantee success. What matters is the posture of the heart. Will we shrink back because it looks too difficult, or will we step forward in faith that strength will be given as we walk? The test is not simply about the outcome. It is about the direction we choose to take in the face of uncertainty. Character is not built in the instant of the test. It is revealed. All the choices we have made in the days and weeks before, all the hidden habits of the soul, become visible in that single moment. If we have fed our minds with lies, cowardice, or excuses, then when the hour comes, we will find ourselves weak. But if we have cultivated honesty, courage, and perseverance, then the test will show us as strong, even if we tremble. Life's examination is not designed to surprise us, but to uncover us. It is a mirror held up at the most critical hour, reflecting whether we are who we claim to be. This means preparation is everything. We cannot expect to stand firm on the day of testing if we have lived carelessly in the days leading up to it. Just as a soldier does not put on his armor only once the battle has begun, so we cannot wait for the trial before we begin to shape our character. Every small act of discipline, every refusal to compromise, every choice to do the right thing when no one is applauding, these are the ways we prepare ourselves. Life is not asking for brilliance on command. It is asking for faithfulness in the shadows, because that faithfulness builds the strength to shine when the test comes. And so, the test of life asks us, who are you when the hour arrives? Are you the one who avoids the hard path and takes the easy way out? Or are you the one who steps into difficulty with resolve? Do you let fear define the boundaries of your life? Or do you push forward into places where courage must be found? These are not questions about how much we know, but about how much we are willing to give, how much we are willing to endure, and how much we believe in what is true and good. The test reveals whether we are hollow shells of words or people of substance who can be trusted when the storm rises. We must never forget that the test is not cruel. It is not set before us to humiliate us or to leave us in despair. Rather, it is an opportunity for discovery. It strips away the illusions and pretenses, showing us both our weaknesses and our strengths. It teaches us what we still need to grow, and it reminds us of what has already been formed in us through discipline and perseverance. The test, then, is not our enemy. It is the fire that shows the purity of the gold. Without the test, we might go on pretending we are stronger than we are, or we might never realize that we are capable of more than we imagined. The test calls us to honesty about ourselves, and honesty is always the beginning of transformation. The test also reveals that we are not alone. Many think they must pass the examination of life entirely by their own ability, but the truth is that the greatest strength comes when we recognize our dependence. Help is available, but pride often blinds us to it. In the day of testing, we learn that our own resources run dry quickly, and we must reach for something greater than ourselves. It is in that reaching, in that surrender of our illusion of self-sufficiency, that the impossible becomes possible. Life's test is not about showing how clever or independent we are, but about revealing whether we will lean on the strength that is given when we ask. Thus, when we are told that a day is coming, that a test awaits us, we must prepare not by cramming facts or sharpening quick replies, but by shaping the heart. We must train ourselves in truth, in courage, in perseverance. We must practice the difficult habit of saying yes to what is good and no to what is false, even in the small matters. Because in the end, the test is never about knowledge alone. It is about character, choices, and courage, and whether, when the appointed moment arrives, we will be found ready. The impossible is the very ground where growth begins. What seems beyond reach is what transforms us. The impossible is the very ground where growth begins, and this is a truth most of us resist because we prefer the safety of what is familiar. We like to measure life in terms of what we already know we can do, what lies within the reach of our proven abilities, what has been attempted before and completed successfully. But growth does not occur within the limits of the possible. It comes when we are pressed beyond them, when the demand feels heavier than our strength, when the task in front of us feels so large that we are certain we will fail. The impossible is not a cruel trap. It is an invitation to transformation. It is the soil in which the roots of courage deepen, the air into which the wings of hope must learn to stretch. Imagine for a moment the swimmer who never leaves the shallow water. He can splash, he can play, he can pretend to swim, but he will never truly learn until he steps into the deep where his feet can no longer touch the ground. It is there, in the unnerving space of risk, that he discovers not only whether he can float, but how strong he can become. In the same way, when life places us before something impossible, it is pushing us into deeper waters. It is not asking us to drown, but to discover that we were not created merely to wade. The impossible is frightening precisely because it dismantles the illusion of control. We think we know what we are capable of, and so we build our lives around that fragile boundary. But then comes a demand that surpasses what we thought possible, and in that moment we are confronted with our own limits. Yet paradoxically, it is only when we reach the edge of our limits that we begin to touch something beyond them. The impossible forces us to confront the smallness of our strength, but it also opens the door to a strength that is not our own. It asks us to leave behind the prison of self-reliance and discover the freedom of dependence on something greater. Growth is never comfortable. The caterpillar must dissolve within the cocoon before it can become the butterfly. The athlete must strain muscles to the point of pain before strength is gained. The scholar must wrestle with confusion and frustration before clarity breaks through. Each of these moments feels impossible in its own way because the present state cannot imagine the transformation that lies on the other side. Yet it is precisely in that tension, in that impossibility, that growth becomes reality. What once seemed inconceivable becomes the new normal, and what once felt like a wall becomes a doorway. To say that the impossible is where growth begins is also to recognize that we are never meant to stay still. Life continually calls us forward. The moment we stop stretching, we begin shrinking. The moment we decide that we have gone far enough, we begin retreating. The impossible keeps us from complacency. It shakes us awake from the comfortable dream that we can rest forever in what we already know. It whispers, or perhaps shouts, that we are capable of more, that there is more demanded of us than we would ever demand of ourselves. Without the impossible, we would never be compelled to become who we were meant to be. It is important, too, to realize that the impossible is not the same for everyone. For one person, the impossible may be climbing a mountain or mastering a skill. For another, it may be the simple act of speaking truth when it is dangerous, or forgiving when every wound cries out for revenge. What matters is not how impressive the impossible looks to others, but how real it is for the one facing it. Your impossible is the place where your growth will occur, because it is there that you are forced to confront your fear, your weakness, and your need for something more than your own resources. The beauty of the impossible is that it changes us in ways we cannot predict. When we first face it, we are often overwhelmed by the certainty of failure. Yet when we step forward despite the fear, even falteringly, we find that the very act of trying reshapes us. The test itself is the teacher. The mountain changes the climber, whether or not he reaches the peak. The trial transforms the soul, whether or not the outcome looks like victory. In facing the impossible, we are being formed, stretched, and prepared for futures we cannot yet imagine. And so, the impossible becomes not a curse but a gift. It awakens humility by reminding us of our limits. It awakens courage by forcing us to act in the face of fear. It awakens hope by showing us that what once looked like an unscalable wall can be climbed after all. It awakens perseverance by teaching us that failure is not final, but a step along the way. In short, it awakens life itself. For to live only within the bounds of the possible is not truly to live at all. It is merely to exist, safely and blandly, without ever discovering what we were created for. When the impossible rises before us, it is tempting to retreat. But if we can understand that this is the ground where growth begins, then we will step forward differently. We will not see the impossible as a reason to despair, but as a summons to rise. We will know that in walking toward it, trembling though we may be, we are entering the very place where our lives will be most deeply transformed, where the small seed of who we are today can break open into something far greater tomorrow. Every test is not meant to crush us, but to uncover hidden strength and call us toward a greater destiny. Every test that comes into our lives is not meant to crush us, but to uncover something hidden within us, a strength we may not even know we carry, and a calling that is larger than the picture we hold of ourselves. We tend to imagine trials as enemies, as cruel intruders designed only to bring us down, but in reality, they are often messengers pointing us toward a greater destiny. A test strips away the illusions and pretenses we have wrapped around ourselves and forces us to see clearly. It shows us both where we are weak and where we are strong, where we have been pretending and where we are genuine, where fear has reigned and where courage waits patiently for its chance to be born. In this way, the test does not destroy us, it reveals us. Consider how gold is refined. It is placed in fire not to annihilate it, but to burn away what does not belong, so that what remains is purer and more radiant. In the same way, when life's fire touches us, when we are thrown into situations that demand more than we think we can give, the purpose is not to reduce us to ashes, but to show us what we are truly made of. The strength uncovered in such moments is rarely discovered in times of ease. Ease hides us from ourselves, while testing uncovers us. When we see the test as an unveiling rather than a punishment, we begin to live differently. We stop asking only, "Why must this happen to me?" and instead begin to ask, "What is being revealed in me through this?" That shift changes everything. Instead of shrinking under the weight of the trial, we begin to notice the strength of endurance rising within us. Instead of being broken by pain, we begin to see that pain has sharpened our clarity and deepened our compassion. Instead of cursing the test, we learn to see it as a doorway to greater maturity, a preparation for responsibilities we would never be ready for otherwise. Think of the way a seed breaks open underground. To the seed, the process feels like destruction. Its outer shell splits, and all the security it once knew disappears. But that breaking is not the end of its story. It is the very beginning of its true purpose. Only through the breaking can it send down roots and reach upward toward the light. Without the apparent destruction, it would remain forever a seed, never becoming the tree it was meant to be. In the same way, tests may feel like breaking, but they are in fact the uncovering of our potential, the removal of the shell that kept us small and hidden. Every great destiny is prepared in hidden places, often through trials that seem unbearable. The character that will stand in the future must be forged in the fire of today's challenges. A leader is not shaped by applause, but by the weight of responsibility when no one is watching. A servant is not proven in comfort, but in the willingness to give when it costs dearly. A heart of integrity is not tested in times of ease, but in the dark moments when compromise whispers that no one will know. These are the tests that uncover who we truly are and shape us into who we are meant to become. It is also important to see that tests connect us with something larger than ourselves. They remind us that we are not simply drifting through life aimlessly, but are part of a greater design, a calling that requires strength and faithfulness. Without testing, we would never rise to meet that calling. We would settle for smaller versions of ourselves, content with mediocrity, unwilling to stretch. Tests push us out of small ambitions and into a vision that requires every ounce of who we are. They call forth the hidden reservoirs of courage, perseverance, and faith that lie dormant until awakened by necessity. And though the test can feel solitary, it often reveals community as well. For in the hour of trial, we learn who will stand with us, who will encourage us, who will walk beside us when the road is hardest. We also learn what it means to lean on strength beyond our own, to find help in places we would never have looked had life remained easy. This too is part of the uncovering, the realization that our journey is not meant to be endured in isolation, but shared, that the discovery of hidden strength is often accompanied by the discovery of hidden allies. So when the test comes, we should remember that it is not an accident. It is not a meaningless intrusion meant only to cause suffering. It has purpose, even if that purpose is not visible in the moment. It is there to peel back the layers, to draw us nearer to the truth of who we are, to prepare us for what lies ahead. Without it, we would remain untested and unready, fragile in ways we cannot see until the storm hits. With it, we are forged into something more resilient, more authentic, and more capable of carrying the weight of our calling. The crushing weight we fear is, in fact, the sculptor's hand shaping us. The fire we dread is the refiner's flame purifying us. The breaking we resist is the doorway through which growth steps into reality. What looks like the end is often the beginning, and what feels impossible to endure is often the very thing that equips us for what is coming next. In this way, every test is a hidden gift, not to destroy us, but to draw forth the greatness we were created to bear.